Okay, I'll just take a few seconds because this is very special.
Okay.
Uh, that we have Dr. Neeraj and Dr. Piyush, both have been my teachers, and I think Dr. Neeraj we have seen him handle so many of our own complications during our residency, and also Dr. Piyush. So we've done so much on how to handle complications. So this is a short,
Thanks.
memorable,
Thank you.
just a few things which I have experienced while dealing with ICLs. So I'll limit myself. I mean, there are many phakic IOLs, so I'm limiting myself to just the posterior chamber IOLs, which we know as the famous as the Star ICL, and now we have our Indian counterparts from the known as the IPCL, the Biotech, and also from Appasamy, I believe. So my experience is limited to mainly the Vision ICL and a few Biotech ICLs. So I've collected a few cases. So this is the first case. Uh, so this is the first post-op day of a patient who underwent ICL. So this is a very scary thing to see, especially in an ICL. So what happened is I'll just show you through the journey. This was a case in which we inadvertently uh, inserted the ICL in the reverse way, and we realized after injecting it, and you can see that the haptic is outside, and uh, so you can make it out over there. It's very easy to make out, I feel, because the whole design is very convex, so it's not something that you can miss, because the iris and all will not go over it or will not constrict over it. So in this situation, what we attempted at that point, this was way back in 2014, we put a lot of visco both behind and in front of the ICL and tried to flip it around, and we were very happy with that we managed to do it. And then the rest of the procedure was fairly routine. We managed to put the haptics back, and the rest went off fine. It was a spherical ICL. So this was one day post-op, and fortunately for us, this was actually the second eye of the patient. We had already done one ICL in the other eye. So fortunately, we could handhold her, and she could also be patient enough, and she cleared up. But of course, there will be some impact of it, and this was purely on the endothelium. And you can see 6 months, you can see there has been some loss, but thankfully, because it was not so high, she's still doing pretty fine. So this is an ideal outcome. So how do we manage it? So I think it's fairly clear nowadays that how to manage. So in case if you have a reverse ICL, I think the key is that we should not do absolutely any manipulations inside the eye. The answer is to explant it. It does not, earlier we used to be concerned that while removing it we may damage the ICL, but we know now with experience that it is not so friable as it was made out to be, and can reload it. The Star has a very good injector system which you can reload and re-inject it. So this should be the approach towards it. And in case if if this has not happened in your hands, and if it is something the patient has been referred, or you come across a patient who has a reverse ICL, I think what I would do is that I would do the calculations and keep a backup ICL, because and then do the reimplantation of the same ICL as planned. So this is one aspect of it. This was one case which I had come across. The whole ICL was a little, you can see it's all yellowish. It's almost amber colored ICL. So the patient was very happy. He had just come for a follow-up. He had been operated almost in 2010 somewhere, and he had just come for a routine follow-up, and I noticed this on dilatation. And he had absolutely no visual complaints whatsoever. Both eyes had the similar picture. It was all a yellowish looking lens. And on some research, I kind of figured out that maybe this was, because it was definitely not a Star ICL. It was a little more thicker than what we see, as you can also make out. So this was probably one of the initial clinical trials of one of the Indian lenses. Maybe the material at that time was different, or maybe it was just a idiosyncratic reaction to that particular patient's eye. Fortunately, it had no visual impact. This was a case which was referred to us. The patient had undergone a successful ICL surgery, and after a week, he developed some inflammation. and he had some hypopyon, the referring surgeon had told us, and they had given some antibiotics and he had responded, topical antibiotics. But then again, after a week, he came back. So this time, as you can see, there was an hypopyon. There was a lot of AC reaction. The fundus was not visible, and you can see there were a lot of exudates inside the vitreous. So this was a case of endophthalmitis, a low-grade endophthalmitis post ICL. This is also many years ago, and this again. So in this case, uh, Dr. Manish, our retina specialist, he went in and he did a vitrectomy, and they preserved the ICL because there was not nothing like a fibrin over the ICL or anything like that, which made us feel that there is some nidus maybe in the ICL per se. And the retina also was fairly okay, of course, a high myop, and the patient fortunately did not have a recurrence. There was nothing, and nothing grew unfortunately in the vitreous tab, so we didn't know which organism caused it, but it was definitely not sterile. So this was one of the cases. So I mean, if you have such a scenario, I think it's important in this case that one should be a little more aggressive, because usually when you're dealing with ICLs, your own patients, you would be a little reluctant and maybe managing it with intravitreals. But sometimes it's best to go in and do a little be more aggressive, like with any endophthalmitis, so to say. Uh, this, I think, is one of the problems associated, which causes more problem with the toric ICLs. So, and which I think all of us must have faced at some point. So this was one of those cases in which you can see the IOL has shifted. Initially, it was well placed. The patient specifically told us that he went back on the fifth day. Uh, he had good vision, crisp vision, 6/6, and on the fifth day he had some rubbing. Something went into his eye, and he rubbed it, and then his vision has been distorted. But of course, there is, and you can also see that, although I do not have the OCT of that time, but you can make out that the vault is on the lower side. It's not a very high vault. So what needs to be understood in this scenario is two things. I will not go into the details of it because that would require a separate talk altogether. But this is something that we know, that for any toric rotation, this is the kind of loss of vision. So sometimes for a mild rotation or a mild 10 degrees, some patients may accept, depending on patient to patient and the spherical cylinder combination. But otherwise it will distort the vision and one will need to go in and rotate the ICL. But why does it occur in the first place? Especially, I mean, the issues which are getting better with time, but this is the main thing which, because the ICL, the guidelines which are available, as you can see. So for example, I've given here, suppose you have a white to white of 11.7. According to the STAR ICL guidelines, they would give you a 13.2 millimeter ICL. And even if it is 12.3, that is what around that they would give you the same. So now there is a difference in the AC depth, there is a difference in the wall. So this customization is a little difficult with the ICL, and this could lead to variations. So you have to be very aware of these things, and especially if the AC, again, if you're a little borderline, it's around 2.9, 2.95, then again you need to be aware, more so in a toric ICL, but also in spherical ICLs. So, but of course, in toric ICLs, we tend to go for a little larger vault. But with the Indian ICLs, I think this is a little advantage because they seem to offer a little more variations and customizations. So these are the advantages that I do not have any personal experience of using the IPCL yet. I've used the Biotech ICL, but they also have a similar calculation guidelines. And this would be my last case. I think all of us have been wondering about the halos which occur, and a lot of us put the blame on the central flow, the central opening. But I think in my experience, I've rarely, can you hear me? Yeah. I've just remember in all maybe one or two patients who would complain a little more of some halo consistently, but they also with time would have adapted to it. Apart from the fact that some of them may complain of a ring around, especially in the dark adaptation, dark conditions, which is fairly common because of the optic size in certain eyes and the pupil sizes, it may vary. So this was one case in which kind of made me think as to what is it, how does it, because it goes against. So this was the position of the central in the first eye that we operated, and I was concerned what is happening. So I checked everything, all the parameters, and nothing came up. So this would be my last slide. Let us wind up. And because nothing came up, we went ahead and did the other eye, and that also showed a symmetrical variation of the central flow. So obviously there was some difference in the anatomy of the ciliary body or something, which kind of displaced it or kept it. But she was totally asymptomatic and had excellent vision. So this was just one last case, just to understand, because I don't know if anybody else has also faced some halos and things. But if it is on the side, it should definitely show some. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.